Dear friends, welcome again to our series of 10 video clips focusing on Jerusalem. In the first five parts of that series, we have talked about history, starting with Abraham, the time of Melchizedek, going through David, going through times of Jesus and the apostles, going through 2,000 years of history, the last 2,000 years, and ending up in our time and generation. And we have switched now from looking back into history, biblical history, general history, and looking into prophecy. Prophecy talking about our time and generation, and prophecy to be fulfilled in the near future, as I do believe, as the Bible indicates. So we started with prophecy by Jesus, talking about Jerusalem being taken away from the rulership of non-Jewish nations, saying the time of the Gentiles are coming to an end. That's Luke 21:24. He, in a different perspective, talks about Jerusalem and the inhabitants of Jerusalem recognizing him as Messiah, calling out to him the messianic greeting, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. And now we are moving from the New Testament Jesus teaching into the Old Testament. We started to consider Zechariah 12, and now we're moving over to Joel 3, where it talks about the valley of decision in the connection with Zion and Jerusalem. And we read about it in Joel 3, verse 14 to 16. It's a very similar prophetic perspective as the prophet Zechariah has given in chapter 12. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and moon will be darkened, and the stars no longer shine, but the Lord will roar from Zion and thunder from out of Jerusalem. The earth and the sky will tremble, but the Lord will be a refuge for his people and a stronghold for the people of Israel. So we see again, it's an end-time message. It's talking in end-time language about the stars and the heavens being shaking. It's talking about nations coming against Jerusalem, very much as Zechariah does. It talks about the valley of decision. Nations in our time and generation will have to make a decision. If they go against Jerusalem, maybe under the leadership of the United Nations or a similar body, to bring their status of Jerusalem into existence against the divine status of Jerusalem, but the heavy-some stone will not be able to be moved by them, but they will receive judgment. Or there will be nations that do not go that route, that are so established in a sense of righteousness, a sense of truth, a sense of reverence for the Jewish people and Israel, in the fear of the Lord to some extent or the other, that they will go the way towards the sheep nation's destiny and not the goat nation's destiny against Jerusalem. So that is the scenario. And then if we go to the beginning of the chapter, we read the criteria for judgment very clearly. Start with verse 1, where it says, "In those days, in that time, when I restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem, I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and there I will enter into judgment against them concerning my inheritance, my people Israel." Now, three criteria of judgments are given. Number one, for they scattered my people amongst the nations. Number two, for they have divided up my land. And number three, in verse 3, it says, they cast lots for my people and traded boys for prostitutes, sold girls for wine that they might drink, which is a prophetic language saying that Jewish life was treated very cheaply. That's a criteria for judgment. Very cheaply, as a cheap prostitute, as a cheap satisfaction by a cheap bottle of wine, cheaply. Jewish life was treated cheaply. And that connects us with the teaching of Jesus in Matthew 25:31 following, talking about the judgment of the nations, which I do believe is in the same line of prophecy as the Old Testament witnesses about the same topic. Sheep nations, goat nations, and the criteria for judgment, the least of the brethren, which I do believe are the Jewish brethren, the physical brethren of Jesus, being treated in an unfair way. They were not visited in prison. They were not fed when they were hungry. And me as a German, as a Christian from Germany, it always takes me back to hundreds of years of history where things has happened here and there, and then the great climax of disaster, the Holocaust, where it happened to 11 million Jews in Europe. 6 of them were killed, 5 of them were sent into refuge. So to me, this is very real and very serious. And the climax into that valley of decision and the 3 criteria of judgment, they are still before us. And there will be a final moment of decision for the nations, either to go the way of reverence and respect towards the Jewish people, the way of the sheep nations, or the way of the goat nations, in the valley of decision, turning against Jerusalem. As you pray for your nation, please pray with that understanding that the Lord may have mercy on your nation to go the right way. May the Lord bless you. Thank you for your attention. Dear praying friends of Israel and the Jewish people around the world, a very, very warm invitation to come to our next Global Prayer Call conference in Jerusalem around Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, as all of you know, is a very significant city, the most important city in the world. The city of the great king, the city of the valley of decision, the city of the return of Jesus. And in that city, starting in the evening of May 22 and finishing at the evening of May 25, in the beautiful Down Jerusalem Hotel on Mount Scopus, we will gather. We, intercessors from all around the world, will unite in praise, in celebration, in prayer, and in intercession. Excellent speakers and apostolic prophetic leaders from Africa, Asia, America, Australia, and Europe will be with us. It will be a unique experience in a unique city at a unique time. And for those of you who want to join us after the conference, the experience of worshiping, learning, and praying will continue at our guided geopolitical intercessory tour from May 26 to May 31. So once again, a very warm welcome to both the conference and the tour.